Hi, hello. I'm Cheryl Gifford, people and culture consultant, coach, and facilitator, and this is the Wholehearted Hub. We've been talking about authenticity, and this is the fourth in a series. And today we're coming to you from the floor. I know I'm always somewhere different, but there's work going on in my condo and there's stuff everywhere. So this is the place that we are today. In the first episode in this series, we talked about how I would describe authenticity, that most wildly expressed true essence of yourself that can show up when you're safe to do so. We talked about the fact that you're not always safe to do so. But today, what I want to talk about is the difference between when you make the conscious decision to make adjustments to yourself based on a situation versus when it's your unconscious conditioning that is showing up and therefore it's not you. It's not your decision. And so you're not being true to you. And so to understand the difference between the two of those things, let's talk about a couple of scenarios. So the first scenario, maybe you're starting a new job. And so it's a new workplace, it's new people, and you want to take the time to get to know the vibe. You want to get to know the workplace. You want to get to know those people before you feel comfortable showing up freely, unbridled, letting your hair down, and just being completely you so that you can assess. In a similar workplace scenario, maybe the conditioned example is when you have a manager who is a persona that your nervous system recognizes as someone who in your life has posed a threat to you. And therefore, your unconsciousness has you making adjustments to how you are to suit that person versus yourself. And so you're not actually being you, you're being a version that you think they want so that you can be successful. This is a self protective strategy. There's many of them that's programmed into us. We have these things programmed into us, and we're not even necessarily aware of them. Maybe sometimes we're a little bit uncomfortable and we're like, oh, that's interesting. We talked about that in a different episode about the recognizing inauthenticity, but you're not conscious of it. So when it's you making the conscious decision to make adjustments and it's strategic, we're not going to talk about that. What we want to talk about today is the shapeshifter. The shapeshifter is a protector. It's when you make adjustments to yourself unconsciously to suit another person in an attempt to get them to accept you or to like you or to belong or to be more successful that is untrue to you and out of line with your authentic self. And sometimes it can leave us lost. And especially if shape shifting is a big part of your personality and you're shape shifting to different people, adjusting to different people all the time, you might not be able to answer the question of like, who am I and what are my actual preferences? Because you're not showing up for them. And so it's really hard to recognize them. So we want to talk about how to unlearn this inauthentic protector. And before we go there, these self-protective strategies that we employ, they serve a purpose for us. They're programmed into us as protection from a lifetime of experience. They might still think that we're a child. They might not know that we're an adult and we don't need those strategies anymore. We can actually protect ourselves now. And so that's where it's really important to do this work to identify them and when they're showing up for you so that you can unlearn those behaviors and rewire your neural pathways to support showing up as your authentic self. So first, if you want, you can go back and take a look at the first episode in the series on authenticity, where there's some prompts to help you identify your authentic self. But otherwise, what I want you to do is to take the time to explore who that is for you. What is that essence? And so it might be asking yourselves questions like, what are my likes and dislikes? Truly. What lights me up? What am I passionate about? What are the things that I lose time when I do them, that I get into flow? What excites me? What do I love most? What are my values? All of those things that are part of your unique self. Write it down. Make a list and like be really free with it. No judgment. Just write them all down. Maybe it's a stream of consciousness type thinking where you're journaling, or it could be in a notes app in your phone, whatever works for you. And then use that list. That's why you want to write it down so that you have an actual, like, on paper list that you can modify and adjust as you see fit, as you learn more about yourself, unearth new things. And it's not committed to memory because our memories are flawed. And sometimes they tell us a story which is not really true. So write it down and then use that list to do an inventory of when your behaviors or your decisions or the way you show up is not in accordance with the list. And it's an interesting exercise to do, to be like, oh, okay, like, what was the scenario and what was the shape shifting? Was it shape shifting? Was it adjustment? And you can, like, have this exploratory exercise with yourself. You're worth it. And when you notice those behaviors, again, without judgment, you want to do this with, like, love, compassion, care for yourself. Write those things down too. So keep track of it. It's really interesting to see how it evolves as you get more comfortable with it as well, because you want to be doing it without judgment. But man, are we good at judging? So practice. This work is important for a few reasons. Number one, you're too important not to pay attention. All of these things are what make you unique. And no one can be you but you. And that uniqueness, your unique blueprint, is what you bring to the world. It's what makes what you do of value. Because nobody can do it like you. Nobody can do your job like you. Nobody can love your friends and family like you. Nobody can shine the way that you can shine. Show up. You're perfect just the way you are. There's nothing to fix. You are whole and complete and all of the things. You're worth doing this exercise to see where you are and aren't showing up because of the parts of you that are just trying to keep you safe. We all have these parts, and maybe you don't need them anymore. And so to shine your light so bright, let the people who love you see you, because you are what makes you magical. And that comes into the work that you do, how you show up, in all the things. Nobody can do it but you. I'm not going to give you a reflection exercise. I'm just going to ask you to do this work, to do this exercise, practice it. Set yourself a timeline. Maybe you do it daily or weekly over the course of a week or a month, and just see what comes of it. You're worth spending the time, and I can't wait to see what you learn about yourself. I learned so much about myself when I let these different parts show up without judgment. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for joining me on the floor. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and that way I get to see you next time.